Hey, everybody, it is Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Monday edition of Today in Sports Betting. As always, I'm joined by my partner in crime, the one, the only Scott Reichel. Scott, big day. Selections went out yesterday on Sunday, and few surprises, not a ton. I think you and I, both of us hated Louisville, and they didn't make it. So, yeah, I think they got one right there. What else? Anything else catch your eye there about the brackets?
Mostly I was thrilled Drake got in. I
Yeah.
really thought they were not going to get in. I know that their best player was out for the last 8 games or so. And Drake, I don't want to say they hit a wall because facing off against Loyola Chicago multiple times, and including the title game in your conference, is, I think, a little bit stronger than saying a wall because that team's just very, very good.
Yep.
But I'm happy Drake got in. They got their best player supposed to come back. That team might be live to maybe make some noise. We'll see. But I don't think UCLA should have gotten in. I know that UCLA was going to get in because they play for the Pac-12 and whatever that even means. And it also probably looks better. They lost to the inevitable champions of the conference. But I don't think UCLA beat anybody all season long. I wouldn't have put them in. But overall, it seemed like everything was normal. I'm thrilled Duke didn't get in. A part of me had the fear in the back of my mind that they would pick Duke anyway, even though Duke was clearly not even close to making the tournament.
Right.
Michigan State should have gotten in. Not surprised by that. But as a whole, yeah, I mean, I don't know if Wichita should have gotten in because I feel like Wichita was a team that a lot of people were expecting to play in the final and got upset by a team that was roughly 500 against Cincinnati yesterday. Not yesterday, 2 days ago, but still, overall, no, there wasn't really much that was surprising. I'm disappointed Loyola was an 8 seed. I think Loyola was a lot better than an 8 seed, but they get no respect, so I'm not surprised they were an 8 seed. Interesting matchup, though, because Georgia Tech ended up winning the conference title, ended up getting a 9 seed, yet Clemson barely beat Miami and then lost and was a 7 seed. I'm a little bit confused by some of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they just went by, body of work. But
Georgia Tech also didn't really play anybody. They beat Florida State, but they had multiple byes, so that
I'm
also.
with you. I like that Georgia Tech team.
I think Loyola wins that game, but we'll figure it out.
We'll see. All right, so we are going to do we're going to do a bracket a night. We've decided. So if you're a regular here to the show, that's how we're going to break. What?
You said a bracket a night, a section a night.
We're not going to. Well, we're going to do okay. Well, a section of the bracket. We're going to do one regional a night. How about that? One region per night.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so we're going to do that. Intersperse it with some NIT plays. We'll have a couple of plays there probably. I would think if anything stands out, and we'll be in our regular NBA show. So look for that starting on Tuesday. Will be the first show when we do our first region. So. With that being said, let's take a look at tonight's NBA card. Got a couple of interesting games, Scott. Got some regional battles there as the Subway Series NBA style gets going as the New York Knicks travel all the way to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. And they're actually not going to Brooklyn. They're going – it's not real far there in the city, is it, from the Barclays Center to MSG?
Not really. I mean, it depends if you take a train or if you drive. It's really not that bad.
Yeah, it's a quick subway ride. So, Nets were 7.5-point favorites. Got there now up to 8 in most spots, and 225 is the total right here. This is in your backyard. This is one of your favorite teams that are getting involved. Tell me about this game, Scott.
Well, for this one, the thing about the Nets is that this team is clearly the more talented team. You look at how this team has played lately. It's been absolutely rolling. This team has, even without Durant, just found an absolute groove, and the one loss they've had in about the last 3 weeks was against Dallas when Kyrie didn't play and they pretty much benched everybody. But this team has rolled. However, the one Achilles heel so far with this team is the fact that not just in addition to the fact that this team defensively is okay and the rebounding is not great, this team tends to play down a little bit to its competition, which has been a little bit of an issue so far this season. They've gotten better with it lately. They ended up destroying Houston, ended up destroying Orlando, beat Sacramento by 9. So they've gotten better at it. But I watched the game against Detroit over the weekend on Saturday, and they were down 1 with about 3 minutes to go, and you should never be trailing to Detroit. So this team still occasionally plays down to its opponent. Now, I know New York is still above 500. This team's a playoff team, so I don't know if you really play down to it. but the Knicks play a physical style of basketball. Offensively, are they great? No. This team is not very good offensively, but defensively, this team does clamp down. The truth is, even though I'm a Nets fan, I hope they kill the Knicks. I'm not really interested in laying the eight here. It's available at 7.5 or 8. So if I really had to make a pick, I would lean to the Knicks plus the points. But this is just a pass for me because the Nets seem to pick and choose when to turn it on, and I feel like they might be a little bit lackadaisical over the course of these 48 minutes. So I'm going to lean to the Knicks, but at the end of the day, it's mostly just a pass for me. I'm going to watch and just hope they win by 30.
Okay. I do have a premium play on this, but I will say that I think the Nets have, like you said, been very good lately as far as covering goes. They won 12 of their last 13 straight up. They've covered 11 of them. The only game they didn't cover happened to be that Detroit game that you watched where they won by 5 and didn't cover the 11.5. So, I think this is going to be a defensive battle. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points scored. I'd probably lean to the under there as far as the total goes.
Well, the Nets have had that situation where after the All-Star break, people were kind of curious if any of these teams would change the way that they play. And I know the Nets played the Celtics. The game ended up getting into the 230s because it landed at 230. They had about 50 points or so in the first quarter. And then Brooklyn played a pretty slow-paced game against Detroit as well. So I feel like those days of blindly betting the overs are kind of long gone with the Nets. They're not long gone with the Pelicans, I'll tell you that much, but they're still definitely gone with the Nets.
Yep, definitely true. And, their defense has been playing a little better lately. So,
yeah.
All right, let's go west, young man, as we take a look at the Lakers heading up the coast to take on the Golden State Warriors. Golden State, 2.5-point dogs right here. 222.5 is the number. This one opened up at 2.5. Yeah, it hasn't
really moved.
A lot of movement there. Scott, we've talked about this before. Who are the Lakers going to play in the middle?
Well, right now it's pretty much Gasol and Harrell, but
guess again, Scott. Gasol's out for this one.
Well, I was going to say they might be better off with him being out because he's kind of terrible. But it's pretty much Harrell, and that's basically it. You don't really have any other options there. I mean, hypothetically, you could go really, really small and try to use LeBron in some type of power forward role or something. I know Kuzma's really embraced the rebounding role for this team. He has actually been very good at rebounding the ball. But to answer your question, they don't really have many options when it comes to anybody playing center.
They picked up Damian Jones from Phoenix, but
he's not very good.
He's a role guy. I don't see him. They've stretched him out and got 12 minutes a couple of times and 7 points was his highlight. But
I watched him on Golden State. He was mediocre at best. I don't think he really brings anything to the table.
Yeah, I don't see it. Montrezl Harrell is the kind of guy that's going to bang in the middle for 35 minutes. Man, he's 6'7". He's not that guy. So. Here's the deal with the Lakers, man. And, we've touched on it ad nauseum, both on our radio show and on our YouTube channel. They ain't very good without Anthony Davis. Since he went out after he played 14 minutes against Denver, including that game. Lakers are 4-7 straight up, 4-7 against the number without AD. And that's just cold, hard facts right there, guys. So, I don't like the fact necessarily the Golden State's on a back-to-back, but they looked very good yesterday against Utah. I like them here against the Lakers, catching 2.5.
Well, we're going to disagree a little bit on this one. I like the Lakers in this spot. These teams played, I'd say, relatively recent. I know it was before the All-Star break, but if you look at the last matchup they had, the Lakers absolutely just steamrolled them. Yep. And the Warriors had another size advantage in the middle. I know Gasol did play in that game, so of course it's not exactly the same. But Wiseman was back, Looney was back, and you had a decent amount of Golden State's players who were absent in the middle all season long playing, and the Lakers just killed them defensively. I just think that the Warriors have an issue when Curry doesn't have a great game, which of course sounds obvious because he's their best player and he's an MVP candidate, and if he struggles, then you need other people to step up. I just don't think the Warriors have enough people to step up. And the thing is, you look at the Lakers here, defensively, even without AD, the team's actually been very good. And I feel like that's something that's a little bit underrated if you look at how the Lakers have played. The issue's been the offense without Davis, and that's kind of been the main story because LeBron at the age of 36, doesn't really seem to fully be as aggressive as he probably should be. With AD out, it seems like he's still a little bit passive in some of these games. But overall, if I had to pick one play that I do like besides the Lakers, I like the under here. I think if the Lakers are going to win, it's got to be low scoring. And I do think that Golden State, after playing yesterday, I do think will have a little bit of fatigue to deal with. And I simply just think that the Lakers should hang tough, play good defense, and I expect a pretty low-scoring game. So if I really had to play it, I'd take the under.
All right. Well, if they get Wiggins and Curry going like they did yesterday against Utah, I think it's going to be a long day for the Lakers.
That's correct. I just think the Lakers will have a good response for it.
Okay. All right. Good enough. What else on the card grabs your attention?
Well, I'm going to have a play that I on one matchup in the NBA, so I'm going to skip one of them. But looking at some other matchups here, I don't want any part of the Clippers. If I was going to play it, I would take Dallas. I know the Clippers might be motivated to come back after getting killed by New Orleans yesterday. I don't really care. They ended up playing. Now have to travel to Dallas, no day off in between. And I still don't think the Clippers are very good. I think this Clippers team is above average. This team should probably win one playoff series, but this team's worse than it was last year. And I simply don't think that Ty Lue is really doing anything with this current roster. And I still think that there's something wrong with Kawhi and Paul George together. The chemistry there doesn't really seem as good as it should be. So I don't really want anything to do with the Clippers. And the Mavericks have been rolling lately. If I really had to play it, Dallas is getting 1.5. There has been some line movement. I think the Clippers open up at 2.5 as a favorite. Now it's 1.5. If I'm playing it, I'm taking Dallas because there's no way I want the Clippers in that spot.
Yeah, here's my problem with that. Dallas just isn't very good at home. They're just 7-11 against the number. They're at the United Center, and they're not very good in shootouts in high scoring games. They're 6-10 against the number when the total is 220 or more.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? You had Kawhi and Paul George yesterday.
Yeah.
So my question is, do one of them sit out or do both of them sit out? Because they haven't played many back-to-backs this year.
Yeah, I would agree that you would think one of them would be sitting out.
If I had to guess, I'd say Paul George. But still, based on current form, Dallas seems to have finally shaken off some early season struggles. The Clippers there's something with that team, which I don't know if it's the fact that Kawhi and Paul George just don't take over games late like they should, or the role players are just really bad. But I really don't like anybody on their team besides Paul George, Kawhi, and I guess a little bit of Ibaka and Batum, who have been pretty good. I think Ibaka's pretty good. I know he was terrible yesterday. But Batum is good, but you're trusting him late in games. You're going through the line. Do you trust Luke Kennard? Do you trust Marcus Morris? They just have a bunch of players, Zubac, who I just don't think are very good. And I feel like that the issue that this team has is just depth. You have Lou Williams, who looks almost cooked, if I'm being honest. I don't really think he has much left in the tank from what you've seen this year. You lost Harrell, who is by far your either best bench player or second best bench player. This team just has no other options when it comes to scoring. I think you'd agree with that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm not a big Reggie Jackson guy.
Well, the problem is all they do is win. I mean, they're still playing very good ball. They're still 25-15. So
I'm just saying over the last couple of weeks, this team has definitely hit a little bit of a rut. And I feel like most of the wins came earlier in the year because you go through and you say that the Clippers win 25-15. That is true, but they have lost 5 of their last 7.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't really want anything to do with this Clippers team off a back-to-back, having to travel from New Orleans to Dallas. I just think it's a bad spot, and I expect Paul George to sit. So I got to go with Dallas.
Yeah, I don't hate that, and and I talked about Dallas's home record. They have been better lately. They have covered won and covered 5 of their last 6 at home. So, maybe these two teams are doing things in different directions than they had done early in the season. Good thing for Dallas, bad thing for the Clippers. So yeah, I don't hate that. I would in that situational spot. And I will say that so far neither player is on the injury list. So I know obviously it can happen later.
They always just make stuff up with the Clippers, so I never even bother. Doesn't it always feel that way? Like 20 minutes before the game, oh no, Paul George has this back spasm thing that's been bothering him. He said he had an excuse during the All-Star break. They asked him about it, And he said, yeah, I didn't play in my last game before the All-Star break because I drank some coffee right before the game, and it made me dizzy, so I didn't play. He actually said that. He said that he got dizzy because he drank too much coffee or like he was too jittery, and he didn't play. He actually admitted that that's why he didn't play in a game. So they'll make stuff up if they go along for the Clippers to rest these people. I don't bother.
I don't think you can make that up.
No, I'm just saying
that's
that
too
if
stupid
that's
to be,
what's
that's
holding
too
you out
stupid
of
to be a lie.
games, if that's what's holding you out of games, Paul George could be out because he has a hangnail on his finger. Like he could just miss a game for the hell of it. It's with the Clippers, and everyone gets tired of the load management thing. But that's why the injury reports are always dicey with the NBA. But for the Clippers, I feel like you kind of always expect in the back of your mind, like right when you bet on the Clippers, 20 minutes before the game, I really hope Kawhi isn't a sudden scratch at the end. I think you would agree with that.
What else you got for today?
Looking at everything else besides the one play that I'm going to make a video on shortly, I actually like Indiana plus the 5.5 against Denver. Denver at home, only 9-8, really has not taken advantage of the altitude. And Indiana, a nice win on the road against Phoenix. But I do think the main reason why I like Indiana is because of the fact that Karis LeVert has finally returned to the lineup.
Yep.
Or he finally made his debut with the team. He's finally playing again. He played 27 minutes. Did he play extremely well? No. But I do think that Indiana is a little bit undervalued in the market now because people see a 17-20 team that isn't very good when in reality it was missing a 20-plus point score for about a month and a half, 2 months.
Well, yeah, and
Denver's not very good.
They did win with him.
Yeah. I'm saying they beat Phoenix. Phoenix is good.
They were on a second game of a back-to-back after playing the Lakers the night before, and they beat Phoenix by 11. So, sometimes the impact isn't necessarily reflected on the score sheet, but the results certainly worked out. Yeah, I don't want any part of fading this Indiana team right now, getting LeVert back.
I think that it might take a week or two before people realize Indiana's much better than its 17-20 record. But the thing that the Pacers had to struggle with was that besides Brogdon and besides Sabonis, they really had nobody else to do anything on offense because I think Turner's more of a spot-up three-point shooter at this point. LeVert can actually create off the dribble.
Well, the last time the Nuggets covered at home?
I'm going to guess February.
It was the game that Anthony Davis got hurt. Yeah, that's it. That's okay. Valentine's Day. That's the last time they covered the number at home. So I don't want to walk into the teeth of that.
And the Pacers might win.
Yeah, I think the Pacers money line is certainly worth a look there.
I watched Denver get killed by Dallas over the weekend. Plus
175.
Yeah, that's definitely worth it to me because Denver's one of those teams that people are still kind of pricing because of last year's run and how they expect kind of like what the Heat have been doing. They expect this team to turn it around at some point. It's possible Denver's just not very good, and that last year was pretty much a fluke because Jamal Murray turned into a top 5 basketball player for about 3 weeks.
I will say this. Are we positive that game is going to be played?
No, but for the sake of this actual matchup, I'm going to pretend it's going to be played, and I'll take the points within.
Yeah, keep your ear to the news on that one, folks. If you're looking at that game and keep your eye on the travel for the Pacers, and because I know that the airport in Denver was pretty much just shut down on Sunday and late Saturday. I heard they canceled over 2,000 flights. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what the access is going to be. I know there's going to be more snow on Monday. I'm not sure if they're going to have access to the arena. So keep an eye on the weather situation there and the flight situation. And if this is a situation where Indiana gets there 2 hours before game time, something like that, then you might reconsider what you're doing. But that's the only thing I'd say about that game.
No.
For me, looking at that, I think that was I think you really kind of touched on the ones that I wanted to touch on. Blindly take the Hornets Kings. I think the Hornets is a nice price there at -3. Unless you want to just blindly take the over.
Okay. I was trying to think if I wanted to even bother looking at the Milwaukee-Washington game or anything like that. I don't know if Beal's going to play. I know the game was close when they just played each other because Westbrook had 42 points and a triple-double. But Giannis had a triple-double also. So Washington can't do anything defensively. And unless Westbrook goes nuclear like he did the other day, I got to assume Milwaukee rolls, right? Assuming Beal's out,
You would think.
I
Yeah,
think that, and I have no interest in the San Antonio-Detroit game. I know I said before that Detroit is an awful team and how this team is probably just actively tanking at this point. San Antonio, since it came back from the All-Star break, has looked so bad
yeah.
that I have to pass. Like, this team I can't back anytime soon.
I was surprised. They actually looked pretty good before the All-Star break, but
Yeah, they looked good in the first half against Dallas, and then ever since then, they got absolutely smacked. Didn't they only
yeah,
score like 77 against Orlando or something?
yeah. Well, my other problem with this is this Milwaukee team. They're doing their Milwaukee thing where they win and don't cover. So they've had a nice run. They won 8 of their last 9.
Yeah. Oh, I take it back. I said that I thought San Antonio got killed by Orlando. They actually killed Orlando. So never mind. They played well in that game. But just looking at everything here, I'd probably look to the under in that Spurs Detroit game. Just the Spurs have not scored more than 104 points in the 2 games since the All-Star break. Detroit can't score either. It scored less than 103 points since the All-Star break. This total should probably be somewhere in the, I'd say, high to mid 2 teens. I would have to take the under there because I think that it would not surprise me if Detroit scores less than 100 points.
Did Beal play the 13th? Did he play on Saturday?
No, he didn't play. That's why I said it, check Beal's status, but he didn't play in that game against Milwaukee.
You know what? I don't care. I'd fade Milwaukee there with the points.
Okay.
Because you're gonna get 11 and a half or 12 probably.
I just disagree because I think that if Westbrook doesn't play as nearly as well as he did, I don't see Westbrook going for 42 again. I just don't see how they're going to score points, and they can't guard anybody. Okay. So I'd lean over. I think Milwaukee's probably going to score 130 again if I'm being completely honest. But sure, I don't know what the line is, so I can't really talk about it.
Okay, well, it was 236 there, so you're going to be within a point and a half, probably one way or the other there.
Mm-hmm.
They went 244, so
I'd look at the over because I do think Milwaukee will score 130 plus points.
Yeah, 237 and a half, 238, something like that, probably.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee scores 130.
All right, there you go.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's the calm before the storm, as it were. We'll be back tomorrow with our regular NBA show, and then we're going to start hammering on this NCAA tournament, all the fun that ensues there. And, of course, if you're looking for information on any of these games or any of the NCAA games, by all means, make sure you stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com. Deep dives into every game every single day with full predictions as well. So make sure you get yourself over there to winnersandwhiners.com. Always there, always free. And for myself, for Scott Reichel, we wish you guys nothing but the best today. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.